All right, hello, hello, hello. Can everybody see and hear me? We're having some technical issues, so I just want to make sure that we're all live and ready to go before I jump into office hours today. So let's just hold on. Let me just make sure that we're good to go. All right, awesome. We are good to go. So welcome everyone to Office Hours here on YouTube and Work It Daily. My name's Ariella Coombs and I'm one of the career support specialists here. I'm inside our platform every single day working with our members on their cover letters, resumes, LinkedIn profiles, and any other job search and career planning questions that they have. So I'm happy to be here today. And if you're joining us for the first time, on office hours today, just know that we do this every week, once a week on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock p.m. And if you're not currently a member, you can come here and get some of your questions answered, but it's not always guaranteed because we do have a lot of questions coming through because this is, one of our more popular kind of things on YouTube. So if you really want to get your question answered, you can't get it answered today, definitely consider joining us inside Work It Daily because you'll guarantee to get your questions answered, any materials you want reviewed, and so on. But today, we're going to be talking a little bit about your job search in 2019 if you're looking for a new job, and kind of go over some things that could be holding you back from getting that job. Maybe you had a New Year's resolution last year to get a new job at this point, and it didn't really work out, and there are a few things that could have held you back in that process that we kind of want to address today. So I want to go over that to start, and then I'll take your questions here. This is a 30-minute broadcast, so I'll try to get to everyone's questions, but again, it's not guaranteed. So definitely think about what you're going to ask and get it in the chat so I can make sure I can try to answer that for you. Okay, so yes, and if you have a question, please make sure that you're putting in the chat question in all caps and then putting your question so we can see it quickly and make sure that we answer it for you, okay? All right, so let's jump in here. I'm just going to pull up my notes. So if you want to get a new job in 2019, this New Year's resolution, get that new job, get the dream job, finally get out of that opportunity that isn't really right for you, that's great, that's awesome. But you do want to be aware of some things that could be holding you back from getting that new opportunity, okay? And some things are kind of obvious, but other things aren't so obvious. A lot of them are kind of hidden obstacles that you don't realize could be holding you back, okay? So you could be prolonging your search without even realizing it, okay? There's some things that you might not realize are happening when you're going in interviews or you're writing your resume or you're talking with people. So you want to make sure that you're clear on what could be kind of distracting from that and kind of holding you back from those new opportunities. Okay, so today I want to kind of go over a few of those obstacles, those hidden things that could be, sabotaging your success in this new year, new job type of, goal that you have, okay? So here are some signs that you're dragging at your job search without even realizing it. So the first thing is you're letting hidden mental roadblocks hold you back, right? So we have a new challenge in here this month inside Work It Daily. It's called the 28-Day Career Reinvention Challenge. And it's essentially a 4-week challenge that JT O'Donnell, founder and head coach, designed to kind of help you figure out what your career story is and how you're perceiving yourself and how other people are perceiving you, right? So if you're telling yourself the wrong story in your head about your career and why you're not successful, or just your career story in general, then it can be holding you back without even realizing it, right? So, if you're telling yourself this story or this negative kind of career narrative in your head, I can't ever get this opportunity because I never did this or I never did that, or this was holding me back, and you're not even realizing you're telling yourself that, but it's coming across in your conversations, it's coming across in your personal branding, and you don't realize it. So I would definitely check out that 28-day career reinvention challenge because it really helps you not only kind of recognize that you are having these thoughts and they're impacting your success, but also it helps you to change your perspective so you can move forward and overcome those things, right? And so you can get those opportunities that you really want. So definitely check it out. It's part of our premium subscription, but it's really helpful. People have been loving it so far, just to kind of get everything out and understand what you're kind of saying to yourself. That negative self-talk, any of that other stuff that could be holding you back mentally, and it's really helpful. So definitely think about how you're perceiving yourself, and what, think about a new perspective going into 2019. So definitely check that out. But those hidden mental roadblocks are the biggest thing that can hold you back from new opportunities and finding, that success and satisfaction in your career. Okay, so definitely number one thing, mental roadblocks. Like they're not helping you at all, and sometimes you don't even realize that they're happening, right? So that's the number one thing. The second thing that I feel like I constantly see inside our program when people first join is that if you're focusing too much on one side of your job search or one aspect of your job search, then you're ignoring everything else. And unfortunately, they all kind of work together. So if you're only focusing on, say, your resume, and you're ignoring your interview prep, you're ignoring your networking, you're not really approaching your job search with a kind of bird's eye view and making sure the pieces all fit together, you're not really going to help. You're going to help that one piece of the process, but sure, you have a great resume, but then you get into the interview and you don't have any interview skills, and you're not prepared for that, so you're not going to move any forward in that process anymore, right? So you need to really think about the process of, this is my brand, this is how I'm going to get the interview, this is how I'm going to nail that interview, this is how I'm going to, earn that opportunity, negotiate salary, that kind of thing. Something that I see constantly that people are avoiding in their job search is networking, which is too bad because it is probably the most important thing you could be doing in your job search these days, right? So if you have a contact at an organization, if you're trying to network with recruiters, if you're, branding yourself and kind of working with your community and figuring out what's available, that's all very important in this process, because if someone can vouch for you, or if someone can tell you about an opportunity that's gonna be posted soon, one of those hidden job opportunities, it's really going to give you an edge in your search, especially if you're changing careers, if you're worried about age discrimination, anything like that. You really need to have that personal connection and that person vouching for you, because it's going to make a difference, right? It's going to have that third-party credibility factor, and as opposed to you just sending off your resume and your application online and just being kind of shipped into a sea of applicants and resumes that are faceless. They don't have any testimonials or recommendations or anything like that, and it's harder to stand out that way as well. So definitely focus on other areas of your job search in 2019. Don't just focus on your resume, right? Think about the other pieces. Think about the networking. Think about the interview prep. Think about those other fundamental pieces of that job search that really work together in order to get you those opportunities, okay? All right. This is also a big one that I see constantly, is that if you're not making your job search a priority in your life, then you're not going to get that opportunity that you really want, right? So opportunities that you want, those dream opportunities, aren't just going to fall into your lap, right? You have to do the legwork, whether it's establishing a good network, so that way when an opportunity comes along, it might be passed along to you, whether it's, getting that personal branding out, and again, focusing on those other pieces of your job search, getting that resume sorted out, figuring out cover letters, figuring out what kinds of companies you want to work for. Really focusing on your strategy as a whole is very important, but if you're not making it a priority in your life, and you're saying, oh, well, I'll do that tomorrow, or I'll do that when I have time, or when I have a break, it's not going to happen, because in reality, you never have time. There's always something that's more important in your life. So if it's not a priority in 2019, it's probably not going to happen. So, make time for this, even if it's just a few hours a week. We say 10 minutes a day, focus on your job search, whether it's, networking with someone new every day, via LinkedIn, or, just email, working on your personal branding, figuring out your target list of companies. It takes 10 minutes a day. It does not take that much, especially if you really want to make this happen, okay? So make time for it. All right, another one that is, it's so common, it's a little scary, but it's what we've been kind of trained to do as job seekers, right? We weren't taught how to look for a job in school, or just growing up. You don't know how to do that, so you're just kind of falling into the trap of the online job boards and just spraying and praying, right? So if you're just applying to hundreds of jobs a week online, just kind of going out there, wasting time applying to these opportunities online, knowing that they're super competitive and the filtering software can kick you out if you don't have a great, accurate relevant resume, if it's not in the right format. Little things like that can kick you out. If you're just spraying and praying online and you're not doing the other things like networking, trying to circumvent that process, then it's going to be very hard for you to stand out and earn those opportunities, right? So again, it's one of those things where we weren't taught how to do this, and that's the first thing you think of when you're job searching, right? Okay, I'm going to go to an online job board and just start applying. But unfortunately, it's not as easy as it sounds, right? You have to do a little bit more legwork than that, because only, I think it's like 2 to 3% of applicants who apply to opportunities using those online job boards actually get a phone call or actually get the job, right? So it's really important that you find other ways for those opportunities you really want to kind of get in there and, stand out, okay? All right, making it hard to read your resume. If your formatting is off, if you're trying to cram too much into your resume, it's going to make it very hard for recruiters to say, yes, I want to move this person into that next part of the process. Because if you're not making it easy for them to see your value, then you're just making it harder for yourself in your job search. Because if a recruiter or a hiring team member can't go through your resume and say, all right, well, this person checks off this box and checks off this box, check, 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 let's move them forward, you're not doing yourself any favors here. So it's really important to get that formatting down and make sure it's easy to read, make sure you're showcasing the right content, the right keywords and skill sets. Otherwise, you're going to make it very hard for yourself, and it's going to add time to your job search, essentially. All right, obsessing over your weaknesses. This is also another one. This is kind of related to that first one that I talked about. But if you're only fixating on everything that's wrong with you, your weaknesses, you're really doing yourself a huge disservice, because, something I always say is, if you don't believe in yourself, why should anyone else, right? And if you're constantly putting yourself down, if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have confidence in your abilities, then why should an employer? That stuff shines through, unfortunately, in your interviews and in your conversations and in your brand even. So you need to have that confidence. You need to know that you are great at what you do and you can add value to organizations, right? You have to focus on your strengths and figure out how you're going to overcome those weaknesses, of course, but focus on what you're good at and how you can add value. Otherwise, those employers aren't going to believe in you because you don't believe in you, right? All right, not learning from your mistakes. If you're applying, again, if you're spraying and praying, for example, and you're not hearing anything, then unfortunately, and you just keep doing it, you can't continue to do the same thing over and over and over again. It's just going to keep that job search going and going and going. So you need to be able to understand, like, okay, well, maybe next time I'll take this approach, or next time I'll do this. And that's why it's so great inside Work It Dailies, because we can coach you on, maybe next time you should try this. Maybe that should work. Maybe you could try this approach, or you can do something this way. And that you can really truly learn from your mistakes. So next time you have a better approach, a better strategy, and you can really streamline the processes. All right. Finally, one of the last things that can be prolonging your search is you're trying to do all of this by yourself, right? Again, you were never taught how to job search or really plan your career. Sure, you might have had some counseling in school, or you read some those self-help books or career planning books, but in the end, if you're trying to do this all by yourself, it can be overwhelming, and it can be so overwhelming that you just don't really end up committing to it. Again, you're not making it a priority because you're not really sure how to do it, and you don't have that team, that community to support you in your efforts. Because in job search, it can be so much fun, kind of picking and choosing what employers you want to work for, what you want to do, how you want to brand yourself. It really can be fun, but you're definitely going to have those days where you're going to feel down, and it's going to be hard. So you need to have that community support, those people in your life who can keep you going when you have those days. And inside Work It Daily, we absolutely have an amazing community. I love going in there every day and seeing everyone cheer each other on and get through those hard days. So trying to do this by yourself, it can be overwhelming, and it can truly make that job search last a lot longer than it should, because you're putting it all on yourself and you don't have that team, that support. Okay, so definitely try to take these things and keep them in mind in 2019 in your search, because they really truly can hold you back. They can make that job search take so much longer than it needs to take. And so you really need to kind of take these into consideration moving forward, okay? All right, so that was my little kind of topic kickoff today. Let's get to some questions. All right, let me see what we have here. All right, so question. What's the best response to employers that are scared to hire you if you have several gaps and numerous jobs on your resume? Me, I had a mix of relocations, restructures, and better offers. So great question. So what we teach here at Work Daily is if you're dealing with resume gaps, or you're dealing with, if you had to relocate, or if you got fired or laid off, when you're answering these types of questions from employers, you need to use something we call experience, learn, and grow when you're answering these. So talk about what happened, like briefly explain the situation. Then go through, what you learned from this process. What happened that, in this process that will make you think differently next time or do differently next time. And how did you grow? How are you gonna take this experience and make sure that, you're essentially using it as a plus, a pro, for this new employer, right? So essentially you want to address the employer's concerns using this kind of format. So talk about what happened, what you learned, and how you grew from that experience. And so you're kind of easing those concerns about, well, is this person gonna relocate? Or why does this person have so many gaps on their resume? Or why was this person fired? If you are proactive and you address this in your interviewing or your conversations, then you're being transparent, but you're also showing them, I've taken this and I've learned from it, and I know that based on this experience what I should do next time and why it's never going to happen again, right? And if it's something about like relocations or anything like that, you can just say, explain that you had to make a move and that you really wish that you could stay at that other organization, but it was something that you had to kind of pursue, but in the future you would kind of look at your options a little bit more and see how you can help that employer during this process. But essentially, using that kind of format, talking about what happened, what you learned, how you grew from it, and easing those concerns is such a great format that we teach here, especially when you're answering behavioral questions, right? And we have a whole course on, it's called Fire to Hired in our subscription, and essentially helps you address these tough things about, getting fired, laid off, if you're dealing with, gaps or anything like that. It really helps you to kind of figure out what to craft in your response, and so you can be transparent but also ease those concerns right up front, okay? And again, our coaches can really help you take what your experience was and help you craft a really good response, a strategic response in this case. So, I would definitely consider that if you're not already in the program. We can help you really tailor that message. Okay, let's see. All right, question. Retired from the military a year ago and I'm finding the transition a little tough. Any tips? Well, first, thank you so much for your service. This is definitely, you're not alone on this. It can be hard to move from military to a more civilian type of opportunity. The key here is really to think about how your skills in the military translate to kind of like those civilian terms, because a lot of employers or hiring team members don't necessarily know how one skill set in the military can translate into their organization. So you have to essentially spell it out and say how your experience, your skill sets are going to translate into those opportunities. Also, take a look at employers who actively hire veterans, so they have more of an understanding of what you have to offer in your experience. So that way it makes it easier on that transition. But definitely thinking about how those translate, make it easy for them to see your value, essentially spell out how you're going to add value using your skill sets, and don't just pepper in those terms that you're super familiar with but other people might not be. So think about how they translate into those transferable skill sets or those hard skill sets that relate to the work, but also look at those employers who actively hire veterans, because they'll have a better understanding of that. So hopefully that helps. All right. All right, how do I start a disruptive cover letter? I love cover letters, and I think I have when I work through cover letters in our program, I kind of teach these 4 pieces of a great disruptive cover letter based on what we've learned about job search and what recruiters are looking for and how to kind of connect with them. So the first piece of a great disruptive cover letter is connecting with that employer, right? So figure out why you respect, appreciate, or admire a certain employer, right? So why do you want to work for this employer over anybody else, any other employer? Why would you feel proud to work there? Was there a moment in time that you realized the value of what that company does? Finding a way to articulate this connection right off the bat is really going to help you create a compelling cover letter that not only shows them that you get them, you understand what they're about, but you're also looking at it as more of an opportunity rather than just a paycheck, because you're looking at being a part of a company that you respect, you appreciate, you admire it, you understand what it does and why it does it. And so right off the bat, that's going to help you stand out. It's also going to make for a really compelling cover letter that doesn't just start off with, I'm interested in pursuing the project manager role, right? That's just snore fest. You don't want to go crazy in terms of, telling a story. Like, you don't want to have to use all this flowery language if you don't want to, but you do want to tell a compelling story, a personal story that connects you with that employer, because it's going to help you stand out. It's going to make it easier for them to see you in that opportunity because, you did your due diligence, you get them, and, again, it's more about the opportunity than the paycheck. So first thing that you should do, in my opinion, is talk about that connection. Then I like to teach people, talk about what you do and why you're passionate about it. Why are you motivated to do this type of work? And it kind of spell out to them, how are you going to add value in this role, right? Don't reiterate your resume, but kind of tell them, this is what I do, this is why I'm passionate about it, right? And this is why I'm motivated to do this type of work. So that way, again, you're talking about the kind of the motivation behind it, and it's not just a paycheck for you. It's something that you really truly love doing every single day, right? And you want to continue doing that. And then from there, I ask people to share one narrative example of a time that you did this. So you're spelling it out for them, like, I've been there, I've done that, and I've gotten results using my skill sets. So I know how to add value. So that way you're showing them, man, they actually understand exactly how they're going to come in here and be a part of our team and add value. So that's a really good format to kind of go through. And then the last piece is just kind of, if there's a specific role, or if you're, you want to include your contact information and so on, all that stuff is at the bottom. But those are really the key pieces of a great disruptive cover letter, in my opinion. But yes, if you want to start one, definitely focus on that connection with that employer. It's really, really important. All right. Question: what are the key skills required for today's hospitality and today's hospitality and event and planning? So great question. So what you want to do, and this actually applies to anybody who's applying to a job, and you're customizing your resume for each opportunity like you should, you want to make sure that you're looking at that job description and similar job descriptions and kind of taking an inventory of what skill sets are being presented in that job description. Right? So I want you to go through that job description of that role that you're applying to, maybe like 2 or 3 really similar ones, and make a list. Go through and circle or write down all of the technical hard skill sets that you need in order to do that job, right? So, for example, event planning might have, event management, vendor relations or guest relations. I'm not really sure, but it doesn't matter what type of job that you're going to apply to or what type of industry. It really comes down to going in, getting really specific, looking at that job description, taking that inventory, making a list of all those skills that are needed, and making a list, taking that list over and saying, okay, crossing out anything that doesn't apply to you. If you don't have those skill sets, cross them out, right? But if you do, you want to bring them over and put them on your resume and your LinkedIn profile, so that way you're really branding yourself for those opportunities using those specific skill sets that they're looking for, okay? It's really important that you do that. I can't stress that enough. So hopefully that helps, but yes, so take a look at the job descriptions, take a look at similar ones if you want to get some more kind of skills drawn out of those, but yes, definitely look at those job descriptions. All right. Question. I'm in the program right now. I'm actually curious to know whether there will be a future course that focuses on how to communicate effectively. So great question, but I think we actually have a course inside there that's about communication, your communication style, how to communicate with others in the office, you know, how to work with different styles. So I definitely check that out if you haven't already. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it's definitely all about communication within the workplace. So I definitely check that out. And it's really focusing on, again, working with other types of communication styles and work styles and that kind of thing. It's really important to understand how to do that when you're in an opportunity, and obviously everyone works differently, and that's great because you need different types of skill sets and different kinds of styles to really come together and do a job well. But you might not realize your communication style could be misperceived as something negative to someone else who's a different communication style. So it's really important to kind of have a grasp on that and just kind of understand that fundamentally. But if you do have any suggestions for courses, or if there's something that you feel like is missing in that particular course, please feel free to email us at support@workdaily.com with your suggestions, because we're always looking for, what else can we do to help you guys and what else do you need? All right, I think I have time for one more question. Let's see what we have here. All right, question. Do you agree that objective statements on a resume are dated and a waste of space? That seems to be the new vogue in job search advice. Yes, for the most part, objective statements are an outdated tactic. They don't help you. They actually can hurt your brand a little bit. So we do not teach you to use objective statements. We teach you to kind of focus on that top fold of your resume, that top half, really focusing on your skill sets and using that format to draw the eye into certain areas so you can brand yourself effectively, showcase the right skills and qualifications and anything else. What I will say, though, is that if you're applying to an opportunity using that simplified format, and a recruiter comes to you or the hiring manager comes to you and says, look, we need you to put this in a certain format, you need to put certain information on your resume, you would do that, okay? Because that hiring manager, that recruiter knows people, they know their process better than anybody else, right? So if they're looking for certain information in that process, then you would just go along with it, right? Because you want to make sure that they're getting what they need, and you're presenting it to them in a way that makes sense, and that's what they're looking for, right? That's the only time that we will say use an objective statement, is if the hiring manager or recruiter for that company that you're applying to is asking you to do that, then you do it. If it's just some random recruiter or some random hiring manager that don't take that advice. I would follow that more simplified format that we teach inside our program, because it really works, and it's so much easier for them to check off those boxes like we talked about earlier. But again, if they're asking you to do specific things on that resume or in your approach, then you follow that advice, okay? Great question. All right, well, thank you guys so much for joining me today. If you are interested in joining us inside Work It Daily, definitely check it out. Go to workitdaily.com/pricing. We'd love to have you inside the program. It's really fantastic. I love being in there every day and helping everybody, and just seeing everybody come together and help each other out and motivate each other. It's really incredible. So definitely check it out. Check it out, the 28-day career reinvention challenge as well. And we will see you next Wednesday. I hope you guys have a great rest of your week. Bye-bye.